Hello. Yes, I am coming to you today from Bundaberg Cemetery. There's a good reason for this. Well, there's actually two pretty good reasons. One is that the best reception in Bundaberg happens to be in the middle of the cemetery, so here I am. The other one is really I wanted to lay a few things to rest today, so I thought the place to be would be the cemetery. So here I am. Now, Monday motivation. I think there's something that is the least motivating thing of all, is to find we're doing something and we keep repeating the same sort of training process that we go through and it doesn't happen. We don't get the results we wanted. And everybody says, this is the way you've got to do it, this is how it's done, this is the exercise you need to do to get those results. And we do the exercise, we work really hard at it, and it simply doesn't happen. And there's a few, well actually there's a lot, but there's a few really common myths around about horse training and about things that the way horses should behave, the way horses should be taught, useful things to teach, that are old myths that we really should get rid of. And I was, one in particular was drawn to my attention over the weekend, which is what I want to talk to you about today. But just first of all, I'll give you a few other examples of myths that we really should lay to rest right here in the Bundaberg Cemetery. So one of them that I love, and is probably a little bit more common in the UK than it is here in Australia, but it's eventually when my horse gets to a certain age or a certain level of experience, it's going to start to travel round and in frame and on the bed. And I'm not going to change what I do, it's an experience thing, and when it gets to this age, this is what will happen. No, let's bury that one. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time because it's very common and it's very misunderstood about how horses learn to travel in that frame. There's a myriad of them that surround the dominance theory idea. So, my horse has to respect me. I have to do X, Y, and Z exercises to get my horse to respect me. If my horse doesn't do this or that, it means my horse doesn't respect me. A ton of them around the respect issue. There's also a ton around being the herd leader. You've got to be the herd leader. The horse thinks you're just another horse and you're the herd leader, so you have to tell the horse where to go. Again, ton of them around that. We'll discuss it another Monday. Another one I love, and I bet you do too, is that thoroughbreds and quarter horses mature earlier than other horses, so it's okay to start them as 2-year-olds or even younger in the case of the thoroughbreds and a lot of quarter horses, let's be honest. Most other horses, the big warm bloods and so forth, their bone plates don't close until they're 5 years old, so they should be started later. Okay, that's a good one. I love this one. Have you heard this one? How to stop a horse rearing. What you do, it's really sensible, is you get on the horse, you ride it around, and when it rears, so when it's actually rearing and up in the air, you get the egg that you were carrying and you crack it over the horse's poll. This apparently feels like blood as it flows down the horse's head, and it stops it doing it again because the horse believes that it's hurt its head. Okay, I want you to try that one and send me the video. And another one I love that we all use all the time, or some of us anyway, is that you've got to ride through the bucking. Just ride the buck out of the horse. Yeah, it's a classic. Anyway, none of those are today's. Today's, I want to talk about the head down cue. Now, somebody asked me over the weekend, said, knowing that I did some work with John and Josh Lyons, they said, they always use the head down cue. I can't see that in your training, and why don't you use it? Now, I do use a head down cue, meaning put your head down so I can put the bridle on. And I use that cue a lot and it's great. The other times I use the cue is when I'm resting a horse when I'm riding, so let's say I've got a young horse or any horse really, and I'm wanting to ride for more than 10 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of work and then I'll let the horse relax and then I'll get back to work. So I rest all the muscles. A good thing to do when you're doing that is to also allow the horse to walk while you're resting, and that's great because you're not sort of going to lock the horse up or make the horse stiff. And I teach the head down cue then, so that means that if the horse keeps its poll below its withers, it can rest and walk and stretch out, and that stretches out all the top line muscles, and it's a wonderful exercise. But as soon as the horse lifts its head up and breaks my bubble of communication, goes to look at something, I say, oh, okay, well, that's fine. You've got the energy to do that. You've probably got the energy to work. Let's go back to work. And then I can offer the horse another opportunity to put its head down and relax and walk with its head low. And if the horse takes it then, which they usually do, that's great. And I'll go back to work when I want to, unless the horse breaks that bubble again. What the head down cue is often thought to do is calm down an anxious horse. The anxious horse has a high head, so usually what happens is you're riding along, somebody mowing the grass very fast. You're riding along and the horse goes, ugh! Its ears prick, breaks your bubble of communication, and it's alert and looking at something. And the idea is you put your horse's head down using the head down cue, and you know, the theory goes that a horse with its head down can't be anxious, because horses are grazing animals. When they've got their head down, they're not anxious. And that is true, but it works the other way around. So rather than saying the horse with its head down can't be afraid, the horse with its head down isn't afraid. And that's a very different thing. So if you look at a herd of horses, you've usually got one that's being vigilant and looking out to see if there's any trouble. The rest are grazing with their heads down. Those horses that are grazing are not afraid. The one that is vigilant may or may not be, but that's its job, it's looking out. It doesn't work the other way around. So if your horse is already afraid, putting its head down isn't going to make it unafraid. It may or may not obey your head down cue, but it's not going to remove the fear. The problem with the horse with its head up because it's afraid is that the stimulus, the thing it's looking at, the thing that is scaring it, is more motivating than your head down cue is ever going to be. And so that's where your problem is. It means that it's not, you're looking at the result rather than causing something to happen. So it won't work the other way. It won't. An anxious horse will not get less anxious simply because it drops its head, but a horse with a low head will have a lower heart rate probably. Now, I'm not saying you could never teach that. I'm sure you could teach that, but I think it would be in conjunction with other things. I don't think it's going to work as a one-off thing. So all I want to do is teach my horse to calm down. I don't think you'd realistically be able to teach that with enough consistency to bring your horse's heart rate down consistently if the situation was quite scary. So that's all well and good. How do we do that? So what do we do if we're riding along the anxious horse and the mower comes past at speed and the horse throws its head up and looks at it and gets terribly afraid? What do we do? Well, tomorrow, Tuesday training, I'm going to take you inside the Kandoo Equine online training system and show you exactly how to address that problem in a way that does work. All right, and I will see you then inside the training tomorrow. Bye.